What's going on YouTube? My name is Anti-Problematic, and today we're going to be doing a guide on Osiris. Now before we get into the guide, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and if you'd like to keep up with any future content, I'll be linking my Discord chat in the description below. Now the reason why I wanted to do a guide on Osiris is this character is very strong in Smite, especially when you go into rank conquest when a lot of the OP solo laners are banned, such as King Arthur or maybe even Jormungandr. And this character bullies a lot of people, especially if you know how to build and play him right. And so I wanted to give an in-depth guide because this character is actually not that simple, and I see a lot of people building him wrong, thinking he's AA based when he's not. Now before we get into his laning phase, let's go ahead and go over his abilities. Now for Osiris' third ability, this is actually going to be your damage mitigation ability. This is probably what makes Osiris Osiris other than his slows. Whenever he uses this ability, as you can see from the AoE at the bottom of the screen, he will tether to any nearby enemy god. Once doing so, anybody that's tethered by him will actually have reduced damage by 30% for a duration of 4 seconds. And once the duration is over, they'll actually be stunned for 1.4 seconds. This actually sets up your first and second abilities and makes it to where it's really hard for them to pump out damage, considering the fact that this ability gives damage, causes the other person to hit, to not hit as hard. This actually does in conjunction with your passive, which we're going to be going over now. Now after using 8 abilities, as you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, you can also see that Osiris has become more ghost-like. And if you basic attack, you actually don't get the movement speed penalty. You can actually just keep moving forward. This is basically Hasted Katana Light. If you don't know what Hasted Katana does, basically when you hit an enemy god with a basic attack, you suffer no movement speed penalty, you can keep moving at full speed. Now the good thing about this passive is that if you miss an enemy minion or an enemy god, it actually does not take your fragments away. However, when you do hit somebody, as you can see, I lost 2 stacks, or 2 fragmented pieces, and then after 8 basic attacks, you will actually go back to your regular form and suffer from the movement speed penalty again. Now the reason why I went over his passive before his ultimate ability is because his ultimate ability actually makes him completely fragmented. Osiris shreds any remaining fragments, getting the benefit of his passive and leaps forward. Osiris targets all enemy gods in the landing area and rips a fragment of their spirits out, dealing damage and preventing them from healing. Targets are rooted for 0.4 seconds during the attack. Enemy minions in the target area also take damage. Now this ability is very, very strong. It's actually very underrated. As you can see, after attacking them, you can actually see the fragments of their souls right above their heads. This actually keeps them from healing for 6 seconds. It's a very, very long time. So this character can actually single-handedly change a team fight if there's a Hades or any type of healer if he targets them with it. And also it's very frustrating for the enemy solo laners to deal with, especially if they have healing in their kit and they rely on the healing on their kit, because now they had to fight Osiris as a base character. Now as far as the laning phase goes, obviously you want to start with your Warrior's Blessing. This character can flex in both solo and support. However, this is only going to be going over solo lane. So what you want to do is you want to get Warrior's Blessing, and like I said before in my other videos, if you're not sure who you're going up against, always get the Chalice of Healing and 5 multi-potions. This will actually help a lot. And at level 1, this is for me personally, I like getting his second ability first and then his first ability. So as you can see, we're going to be running into the lane. You want to use it. Now when you use your second ability, you want to try your best to hit not only the back line, but also the enemy god that you're fighting as well. This will help you establish pressure and get some damage going for early game pokes. And as you can see, his basic attacks his last 2 hits of his basic attacks do cleave. So it makes clearing the enemy wave a lot easier. Now as the laning phase continues, you actually want to get your first ability next, and then your third ability. Now the thing about Osiris is that you want to level his first ability first. Reason being, even though the other move will do more damage and has more AoE, so it makes it easier to clear, this character is actually very aggressive. What you want to be doing in the lane with this character is popping your tether, right? Hitting the back line and the enemy god at the same time. And you want to hit your first ability on them as much as possible. And the reason why you level up your first ability first is because, as you can see, its cooldown is on 5 seconds with no cooldown items, compared to your second ability, which will hit harder, which will hit harder late game, but is on a 10-second cooldown. As far as the first item you want to get Glad Shield. This will actually give you 10% damage reductions. It will give you physical power and physical protections, and you'll heal for a percentage of your health every time you hit an ability. And this will put your Sickle Strike on a 4.5 second cooldown, along with your second ability at a 9-second cooldown. You'll be able to harass the enemy god by just continuously hitting them with sickles, continuously hitting them with your second ability, while also they can't hurt you because they're in your tether. Now, as far as Osiris' best items go, you want to get items that will actually cap him at max cooldowns as early as possible. Those items will include, but not limited to, Glad Shield. You would want to get Breastplate of Valor, and even Blackthorn Hammer. Personally, I like Blackthorn Hammer on Osiris, simply because it gives power, health, and mana with cooldown reductions when you're over 25% mana, and this will actually put him at cap very early. Another good item to throw on this character is something with anti-heal. Even though his ultimate does have innate anti-heal, having this, like a Contagion or a Pestilence, will actually help him in the long run, considering the fact that his base kit doesn't have anything to stop them from out-healing him outside of his ult. Other good items on him will be items that reduce damage to him, considering the fact that he already has a lot of damage mitigations inside of his passive and his third ability. Those items do include Runic Shield and Oni Hunter's Garb. If you didn't watch my last video, what Oni Hunter's Garb does is that for each enemy god within 55 units of you, you gain 3% damage mitigation at a cap of 3 stacks. This will actually stack with your passive. So you'll get the 9% damage mitigation from Oni Hunter's Garb. You'll get the percentage of damage mitigations depending on how many fragments are missing from you. If you have max, you'll get 16% physical damage mitigations on top of the 9% damage mitigations, just from physical damage, and then you just get the extra 8% for magical damage. So it actually helps his tanking a lot, on top of the fact that if you're tethered to somebody, you actually reduce the damage they do by 30% at max rank for your tether. So this character is actually very tanky. If you're looking for more damaging items, a good damaging item to throw on will be a Void Shield or a Shifter Shield. That's completely up to you. However, I would not recommend building both. I would recommend building one or the other. And if you're looking for another just a straight damaging item, I would recommend Heartseeker. Heartseeker will actually do health damage for every ability that's hit, and since his abilities are already on a fairly low cooldown, it's very useful to have at all times. Now, as far as general game plan goes, it's actually very simple. All you want to do is make sure you have as many people on the enemy team under his third ability as much as possible. You want to make sure this ability is on probably at least 2 to 3 people in team fights, because this tether actually has a very, very long AoE of effect, and the damage reduction will actually help your team survive a lot longer, since it's not just to Osiris, it's actually to everybody on your team, since they're doing reduced damage. Also, you want to be using your first and second ability on the person that you think is going to be giving the most issues for your team. This slow will actually help your team set up and get that person killed as soon as possible, even if they have a run move, because if they use their run move, they'll still be under the effect of this sickle right here. The effect does not go away after after they use their run move. They would actually have to beads or Magai's Cloak out of it to be able to stay away from Osiris' slow. And even then, this ability is on such a low cooldown and has such a massive range that it's almost impossible to get away from this character unless they have some outside help. Overall, Osiris is a very solid character. He's just outside top 5 for most people, for good reason. He doesn't have a lot of sustain himself, even though he has a lot of damage mitigation. He has no way to heal himself outside of maybe like a Soul Eater or a Glad Shield. And his first ability, which is the move that you're going to be going to a lot in your matchups, is pretty hard to hit and can take some time to get used to. But once you do get used to it, in conjunction with hitting his second ability as well, this character is very fun, especially if you like a really aggressive playstyle. And on top of the fact he doesn't have a lot of bad matchups. The only people who can really beat him are obviously the top 5, even though he could deal with them fairly well, and people who have really low cooldowns on their healing abilities. Also, characters who can stay outside of his tether range or can fight him and clear at a distance. Those are the only type of people who could actually fight him and completely outright beat him. Also, this character, considering the fact that this character is actually very hard, he can get behind really easy if you're not careful. And getting behind with Osiris is something you never want to happen. So, playing this character demands that you know how to play the solo lane really well, know when to go in, when to get out, and how to clear properly. So, I'd recommend this character if you want to try to go into ranked and your main character is banned. And I would recommend that you play this character if you're trying to completely dominate the solo lane, and if you have a very solid understanding of how the solo lane works. Other than that, that is actually it for Osiris. If you did like the video or have any other questions, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you'd like to keep up with any future content, I'll be linking my Discord chat in the description below. Without further ado, stay safe and have fun.